Sauv Blanc.
Yes.
Charles. Hello, my name is Georgia. And I'm Olivia. And Olivia was just about to get up and go home, and I was like, sit down, bitch. You've done yours, and now it's my turn.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? And I said, we're going to record my one. We've done your conspiracy theories, and now it's time to talk about trauma.
Yes.
To the nth degree. And it's going to be a long one, so sorry.
Oh, no. Okay.
I mean, you're here already. Mm-hmm. Zone out. I'll talk to the audience.
Okay.
So this one we're going to jump right in because it is a long one, and it's a request from, I think I'm remembering the name correctly, Sabrina Spellman. Mm-hmm. It's a request. I think that's an alias. Sabrina Spellman, yes. She suggested we do, after the Beechworth Asylum, that we cover another asylum which was in New Zealand called the Lake Alice Psychiatric Hospital. Mm-hmm. I just want to give a bit of a trigger warning here. There's a lot of mentions of physical, psychological and sexual abuse, okay, to children in particular. So if this is something that is going to be particularly hard for you to listen to, if it's going to bring up some stuff, probably skip it, because we do go into great detail, because the survivors wanted to tell their story. And they did so in an inquiry, and they told their stories in great detail. And I think we owe it to them to share that and to, honour them in the way that they have recovered out of this horrific experience. I want to acknowledge the Maori people, because they were disproportionately affected in this, given that Indigenous people were displaced from their families, put into foster care, and a disproportionate amount of those children were Maori. So, I just want to acknowledge them. And, the Lake Alice Psychiatric Hospital was first opened in August 1950 in Manawatu, New Zealand. It was an institution somewhat typical of its time, set up to treat adults, children, young people with mental distress or mental illness, although the children didn't come till later, so it was initially an adult psychiatric unit. Instead, it became a place of abuse, particularly at the hands of its consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Selwyn Leeks, and a few other staff members. Leeks' conduct was abusive and unjustified by many standards, even those of the day. For many, Lake Alice was a place of misery, neglect, terror, and torment. So it's named after the lake, which shares the name, the second lake to the south of the estate. It was a hospital complex which consisted of 56 acres with 10 two-storey, 11-bed villas.
Wow.
Fire station, 2 swimming pools, maximum security villa for prisoners, staff quarters, library, community hall, chapel, morgue, and 4 two-storied 50-bed villas, along with garage and workshop. It was fully equipped to house a fuck ton of people. That was the point. In 1972, the Lake Alice Hospital Child and Adolescent Unit opened. So it was opened in 1950 for adults, and then in 1972 it housed children and adolescents. These children had perceived mental illness and disturbing behaviours. More so, they had disabilities, some behaviours from trauma, ADHD, autism, much like what we said with the Beechworth Asylum. Like, they had things that they just didn't recognise as manageable conditions, and they just...
So anything slightly out of the ordinary in child behaviour.
Yeah. Okay. And even if parents couldn't handle them, they would fucking handball them to these asylums, which is fucked.
Yeah, as if it was the child's fault.
Yes, correct. There was very little attempt to understand the real cause of their behaviours of the children. That was sent to the unit, and staff got little support as well. But don't feel too bad for the staff, because they're absolutely fucking horrendous. A later inquiry into Lake Alice showed that it was likely that many admissions to the unit were unlawful. Certainly admissions for punishment or to relieve overcrowding in social welfare residences did occur, and that was not lawful. The department failed to obtain the consent of those detained or keep their wānu, which is the Maori word for family, fully informed. Lake Alice was established within a wider international and domestic context of large-scale institutionalisation of disabled people and people experiencing mental distress. As early as 1844, the Crown began building institutions for people experiencing mental distress. Over time, these were known as lunatic asylums, mental hospitals or psychiatric hospitals. These mental health settings were managed separately from the rest of the health system and were the main form of mental health support until the mid-20th century. Institutionalisation further increased in the 20th century, largely due to the popularity of eugenics. Eugenics is an ableist and racist movement that views people with a disability or non-European features and certain behaviours as genetically inferior and therefore seen as socially inferior and undesirable. This led some eugenics advocates to argue disabled people should be separated from the rest of society in mental deficiency colonies to prevent the breeding of a subnormal race. It happened not only in Germany, all over the world, guys. Over the early decades of the 20th century, governments introduced measures to identify, classify and segregate disabled people and people experiencing mental distress from the rest of society. Fucked. Several institutions were opened to prevent deviant behaviour and ultimately to prevent residents from having children.
Wow.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know.
Jesus, okay.
I know. In 1953, a Department of Education report promoted large-scale residential institutions as providing the best model of care for children and young people with a learning disability. Following the release of this report, many families were pressured to place their disabled children and young people in institutions, and the number of residents rose rapidly. And I mean, this place was overcrowded to the fucking max.
So how many beds in total, sorry?
10 two-storey, 11-bed villas.
So 220.
Quick math. I don't know. It was a fuck ton.
Okay.
And then there was a maximum security villa on top of that.
Yep.
And then there was 4 two-storey, 50-bed villas.
Yeah, okay.
So there was so many.
At least 500-600 people.
Yeah, I get to that. Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many families wished to keep their family members at home, but placed disabled family members or those experiencing mental distress in institutions on medical advice that this would be best for them. These views and other prejudices also meant many people were placed in mental health settings for perceived behavioural or other reasons not related to their mental health. Child psychiatry emerged as a distinct sub-branch of psychiatry after the Second World War. Child psychiatry was an almost unknown specialty in New Zealand at that time. No training in child psych was available in New Zealand until 1969, and this was opened in the 1950s. Dr. Selwyn Leeks was the first doctor to graduate with a diploma from the university in 1972, and he's the big culprit of abuse. So in 1972, it was estimated based on population that New Zealand needed at least 60 child psychs to meet local need. Just 6 were available.
Wow.
Hospital boards in many areas did not provide adequate child psych facilities and did not understand the concept of a child psych service. With specialist facilities few and far between, children and young people who had suspected or confirmed psych conditions and could not live at home with their families often ended up in the adult wards of psych hospitals. Nice. What could go wrong? The child welfare system was another common route into psych care. As the number of children and young people entering the state's care grew, government officials struggled to find places to accommodate them, whether in some form of institution, typically a boy or girl's home, or in a foster home. So all of those got overcrowded. The foster care system, boys' homes, girls' homes, adoption centres, blah, 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 all of it got overcrowded for some reason. I think to do with, obviously family violence, but can't be disproportionately because of that. It's also the government seizing kids that didn't need to be taken, much like our stolen generation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Throughout this period, an increasing proportion of state wards were Maori. By 1967, 46% were Maori. Once in state care, children and young people were commonly and repeatedly moved from place to place. They often progressed along a continuum of care placements from foster parents to family homes, church homes, other community placements, as well as institutions. That would be the end. The end of the line would be a psych hospital. Often such transfers were used to alleviate overcrowding in that home rather than to meet the genuine needs of the individual. So fucked. Many of these kids had complex needs and had experienced trauma in previous placements or in their family home. Mm-hmm. Some had mental health conditions or learning disabilities, and this included psychological or emotional difficulties arising from past trauma. Some had suspected or diagnosed psych conditions. Others were simply labelled as quote-unquote disturbed because staff found their behaviour too challenging to manage. Say, a hyperactive kid. Hunter, maybe not Hunter because he's not, Ruby's hyperactive for sure. Should be fucking put in one of these things. The design rejected the older asylum model of imposing single buildings, but housing patients in a series of villas, as well as aiming to create a more home-like environment for patients. The villa system allowed for the greater separation of patients by age, gender, behaviour, and perceived likelihood of recovery. However, we will find out that this is not what happened. They all intermingled. In July 1970, the hospital's medical superintendent, Dr. Sidney Pugmire, acknowledged the hospital had no special facilities for children and avoided admitting them as far as possible. However, 11 children and young people had been admitted and treated that year. So that's in 1970. This is before their children's centre had even been developed. They were admitting kids with no ability to help them. Lake Alice's annual reports show in 1970 and 1971, over the 2 years before the opening of the Lake Alice Child and Adolescent Unit, 34 children and 59 young people spent time in the hospital. It's estimated between 400 and 450 children and young people went through Lake Alice between 1970 and 1980 when it was shut down. So it was only running for 10 years. The social welfare records admitted 203 children, and then the rest were like just admissions from other places. Dr. Selwyn Leeks started seeing young patients at Lake Alice from as early as June 1971. At this time, there was no designated child and adolescent unit, so young patients were housed in general villas. From the 9th of November 1971, Dr. Leeks accepted responsibility as psychiatric consultant for all patients at Lake Alice under the age of 16. He was like the sole guy. He also worked at 2 other child health clinics, one in Wanganui and another at Palmerston North Hospital. The hospital set up a dedicated unit in 1972 for children. This was initially a 12-bed villa for boys, which was known as Villa 10. The unit's capacity grew quickly. A second 12-bed villa for boys was added later in 1972, which was known as Villa 11. Although the unit's dedicated villas housed only boys, Dr. Leeks also treated girls at Lake Alice. Girls were initially housed in the adult admission villa. They shoved the girls in with the adults. Why, when you've got so many beds?
Yeah.
Ugh. It accommodated both men and women, and then the children spent their days in the children's unit, but they slept with the adults. What the fuck?
Doesn't make sense.
A school was established at the hospital in February 1973. An assessment of the school's performance in 1977 found the school to be on the lowest level, the maintenance level, which meant the school was preventing students from further educational decline but not contributing to their growth. Many survivors said their education was badly affected by their admission to Lake Alice, along with all the trauma. Kind of makes it hard to learn. During this time, parents, family, communities, the public, and even senior mental health professionals were conditioned to believe the assurances of Dr. Leeks that those sent to the unit would receive beneficial psychiatric treatment. But that is not what happened. So that's our history. Let's talk about Dr. Leeks. Selwyn Robert Leeks was born in 1929. Between 1953 and 1960, he completed a bachelor's degree in science, medicine and surgery at the University of New Zealand. From 1959, he worked at various medical, psych and educational jobs in New Zealand and England. In 1969, he received a diploma of psych medicine, and in 1971, he received a diploma in child psych from the University of Otago. In February 1971, the Palmerston North Hospital Board hired Leeks as a consultant child psych, and he held this position until he left New Zealand in 1977. And do you know where he went?
Where?
Here.
Yeah, nice. Close.
He fled here after all the shit hit the fan. Anyway, he's dead now. At the time, Dr. Leeks was one of the few qualified child psychs in New Zealand. Like I said, he was the head psych in charge of the children at Lake Alice, and his wife, Priscilla Leeks, also worked on the unit as a child therapist. Not sure of her quals. Probably none. He lived in a house on the hospital grounds. He only ever worked at the hospital part-time. Dr. Leeks usually visited the unit only once a week, but that day was viewed as a day of horror for most kids. The ones that weren't admitted by the social welfare department were referred to this place by Dr. Leakes in these health clinics. So he encouraged them to go. Survivors admitted to the unit from residences often felt the reason for their admission was punishment. One survivor recalls, Leakes kept telling me when I was in Manawara Health Clinic that I would end up at Lake Alice if I didn't behave. He used Lake Alice as a tool to threaten me. I felt trapped and I did not have any protection at home either. Leakes, my GP, my mother and others were all part of sending me to Lake Alice. In theory, clinic referrals involved some form of screening, but evidence from the survivors and subsequent reviews of the diagnoses by psychs suggests even patients who received a formal diagnosis of a psychiatric disorder were not in fact always mentally ill. Even at the time, government officials noted the lack of clear clinic referral processes. It was just like Dr. Leakes said, yep, you're insane. Go to fucking Lake Alice. So let's talk about the patient experience. The experience of arriving at the unit was traumatic for most survivors. Some spoke about the distress experienced watching others arrive. For example, one survivor said, I have a vivid memory of a young boy of 5 to 6 years old standing on the steps of Lake Alice holding a teddy bear and screaming for his mum and dad. He had been dropped off in a car and left alone there.
Oh, sorry, my
I was
Siri
going to say, I was
on.
like, who said that? What'd she say?
Fuck? Sorry, I think.
That's a bit spooky.
Yeah, what the fuck? Why is my Siri responding to you?
Don't know. Survivors often describe their impressions of the building at Lake Alice as intimidating and prison-like. One survivor described not being told where she was going, being driven down a long road, seeing a building with high ceilings and big windows, and getting the feeling in her gut to run. Someone else said the building was like a prison, all fenced up. Everyone was locked up and you couldn't get out. It was like going into maximum security. But you're a kid. That's 5. Like what? Some Lake Alice survivors said their initial impressions of Dr. Leakes was favourable. They used the term nice, kind and placid to describe how they first saw him. However, these impressions often changed, as a survivor explained. He was placid to talk to, but you couldn't go against him. He was the boss. The less you had to do with him, the better. It wasn't good when Leakes was around. Ultimately, most survivors remembered Dr. Leakes as a frightening man they tried to avoid. Survivors described the dormitories with the villas as hostile. One woman who was admitted when she was 9 said, I remember the bedroom that I stayed in. I was all by myself. It had just one bed with no toilet. As an adult looking back, it reminds me of a prison cell. They would lock me in at night. I remember feeling so scared when the lights went off and the doors were closed for the evening. The placement of the unit within the wider hospital meant children and young people sometimes shared the space with adult patients. Many survivors said they felt frightened of some of the adult patients. One survivor said that in June 1972, he was admitted from Holdsworth Boys' Home through the back door in an adult villa. He was just shoved in there. Some survivors said that the staff used the presence of adult patients to frighten and punish them. For example, one said, another form of punishment was being taken for walks near the maximum security. The nurses would make sure it was the men's exercise time. The nurses would make sure you know they were in there for murder. That was really frightening. They would rattle the fences. You would be scared they would get over the fences. Isn't that crazy? Fucking hell. In the 1970s, the hospital maximum security villa, otherwise known as the National Security Unit, was New Zealand's only officially designated psych security institution, so like for criminally insane. The security villa shared grounds with the Lake Alice Psych Hospital, but was administered separately. Nursing staff were not shared and patients had to be transferred formally. A medium security villa known as Villa 8 was used to house difficult patients and patients discharged from the maximum security villa. So they did mix. So when the patients were discharged from the maximum security, they would go into the medium security, and that's where the problem children went for punishment. So they would mix these fucking criminals in with these kids. Isn't that fucked? I just can't believe it. Patients were generally temporarily transferred to this villa after running away, and the purpose of the transfers was a reminder that it was better to be in an open villa than a secure villa, and we will find out why later. They would go into solitary confinement as well.
Oh, God.
I know. Children in solitary confinement.
Wow. That's torture.
It's so illegal. And this was only like, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
30 years ago? 30, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
One 15-year-old was put in the medium security villa, and he found it to be very frightening and a scary place. He said the risk of sexual abuse meant he had to learn quickly how to keep other patients off him without injuring them, as that would result in more punishment for him. He said, I often stayed awake at night, lying, scared in my bed with the blankets tightly tucked in to protect myself. Another survivor said he was put into the adult villa for refusing to take medication and was sexually assaulted on the first night. So that's awful. The median age of the individuals admitted by the Department of Social Welfare was 13 at first admission. The youngest child was 5 years old. Significantly more boys and girls were admitted to the unit. Of the individuals admitted by the Department of Social Welfare, 165 were boys and 38 were girls. The length of time individuals spent at the unit varied. The individuals admitted by the Department of Social Welfare spent an average of 29 weeks there, although the shortest time at the unit was 3 days, and the longest continuous time was almost 203 weeks.
Oh my God.
That's fucked. So this is, if you think that was heavy, we're going to get into some of the punishments now. So fucking strap in. I'm just going to have a sip of my wine because writing this gave me fucking palpitations. Honestly, yesterday I was so anxious. I think it was very triggering. Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, warning, child abuse. In order to keep them in line, staff would inject the children with paraldehyde. You ever heard of it?
No.
It was a sedative that was widely used in psychiatry then until better antipsychotic medications became available in 1956. It was mainly used as a sleeping medication or sedative to subdue aggressive or highly excited patients. It could be injected or taken orally, and it had a strong aromatic odour and a burning, disagreeable taste. When injected, it was painful and required the use of glass syringes due to its corrosive properties.
Ugh. Gross.
The fuck? The unpleasant odour was also present in people's sweat, breath and urine after it had been taken. So the whole place stank. The use of such medications as well as the threat of their use contributed to the climate of fear in the unit. Nursing notes show that patients were regularly given paraldehyde and other sedatives. One survivor described paraldehyde injections as like having a burning steel bar up your backside because they would give it to you in your ass. Another said it was just horrific. A third said it felt like boiling water had been poured over my skin. Many said it left them in pain and unable to walk or sit down for a long time afterwards. Many survivors said that paraldehyde was given as punishment for things such as kicking a ball at a window, theft, fighting, smoking and throwing apples. Niche. Nursing notes provide evidence that paraldehyde was used more often than recorded in med charts and sometimes created a clear indication that the purpose of administration was punishment. As the following examples show. 26th of August 1974. Throwing apples this afternoon. Paraldehyde. Paraldehyde 1 cc IM given. 23rd of September 1974. Misbehaving at school. Disruptive and refusing to do as requested. Given paraldehyde, 5 mils by injection. 25th of September 1974. This eruptive, aggressive and hysterical little boy does not appear to have learnt very much from repeated administrations of paraldehyde.
Oh, really? I wonder why.
22nd of April 1976. Accompanied other boy to steal lollies from office. 2 cc's of paraldehyde.
Fuck yes. I like that.
Oh, these kids, they did fight back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they
stole some lollies from the office.
Love
together.
it. Ballsy.
I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, Mrs. Leakes, a child therapist of the unit, said paraldehyde might have been used to modify behaviour. Another staff member said paraldehyde injections were part of Dr. Leakes' aversion therapy program, and Dr. Leakes set out specific guidelines for the use of paraldehyde. Doubt it. He told us that if the medication was not diluted with sterilised water, the injection would leave a greater sting. And Dr. Leakes' instructions was to not mix the paraldehyde with sterile water so that it stung.
More, yep.
What a prick.
More of a punishment.
In 1976, Dr. Leakes received a written complaint from a mother of a boy given paraldehyde injections as punishment. She said her son told her he was given 5 injections for bad behaviour. A charge nurse confirmed to her that the injections had been given as deterrents, quote unquote, and she said she found it not only disturbing but mightily displeasing that punitive measures are being used under the guise of treatment. Dr. Leakes wrote to the mother saying he had looked into the matter, which rather surprised me, but I find that it has not been used that way. The boy's nursing notes record he was given paraldehyde for being involved in a scuffle. His nursing notes refer to his mother's letter, and 2 days later record that he was given paraldehyde for skylarking in the dormitory.
What the fuck?
They're like, oh, that didn't happen. Mum complained. We're just going to keep doing it. So another thing that they did was group therapy, and that might sound mild, but for kids that were little, it was actually really emotionally taxing. Group therapy sessions were compulsory in the unit, and Dr. Leake said the aim of all therapy was to benefit the children and young people in terms of psychological and emotional growth, and to help them cope with their environment outside of the hospital. Many survivors said they found the weekly group therapy sessions in the unit distressing. A survivor said the process was inherently flawed because the people who are abusing you are running the group therapy sessions. Yeah. Another survivor said the patients would be picked on until they broke down. I don't think it was so much therapy as some horrific form of bloodletting. A survivor described what these sessions involved. Usually Dr. Leakes would start off by asking one of us particular questions, and they all centred around our childhood and our parents and our relationships with our parents. And it would eventually go along the lines of wanting us to admit, in the case of girls, our father or somebody in the family had sexually interfered with us.
What the fuck?
I know.
What the hell?
You would just be bombarded with questions, and it kept up through the whole session until you broke down. It usually lasted from 1 to 3 hours. Some survivors also said that if they did not participate in the group therapy, it could lead to solitary confinement. Many survivors said that if they did not participate in group therapy sessions in the way that the staff wanted, this could lead to electric shocks as well as punishment. One survivor said Dr. Leakes would sometimes point at someone in the group and 2 nurses would drag them out to have ECT if they didn't cooperate. And this is not normal ECT. We'll talk about that in part 2. When faced with the threat of ECT, one survivor said he did speak about his past sexual abuse in front of other patients. After this, 2 boys who had been in this session followed him out, and when they had a chance, put their hands down his pants. He said he had the impression that these 2 boys had learned about his vulnerability at the group therapy and took advantage of it.
It should be confidential.
Absolutely. Not shared around a group.
Yeah, what the fuck? Your trauma like that? That's crazy.
Solitary confinement. Each villa had rooms that could be used for solitary confinement. Dr. Leakes described the desimulation room as a bare room with a bed or a mattress. Another staff member said they were standard rooms that could be locked and had a bucket for a toilet. A survivor described the rooms in the following way. The rooms had a single bed with shutters closing off the windows. This room could be used as a security room. The doors were very thick and heavy. Oak, I suppose. And they had a peephole, a little square window type thing with a sliding shutter across, which could be opened from the outside. It's like a jail cell. Literally exactly the same. And these kids have done nothing wrong. Dr. Leakes told the 1977 Commission inquiry that patients in the unit were usually placed in the confinement for between 20 minutes and 2 hours to help them destimulate, and it was unlikely they would stay in there for much longer than that. However, many other examples are more difficult to reconcile with this description. For example, the notes from one survivor showed he was put in solitary confinement for 2 days between 21 and 23rd of July 1976 as a deterrent for perceived uncontrollable behaviour, whatever the fuck that means. Survivors describe being put into solitary confinement for long-ass periods. One 14-year-old was put into solitary confinement after sexual interaction with some other patients. He said there was nothing in the room apart from a mattress on the floor and a bucket, and it felt like a holding pen. He said he was in solitary confinement in Villa 8 and was left alone with no food or water for the first day and night. He was transferred to the Max Security Villa about 2 days later, which is where he was kept in solitary confinement for 2 to 3 weeks in the fucking prison. Like,
what the fuck?
This is sad. Another patient said she was put in solitary confinement on several occasions, and it was always clearly stated that it was for punishment. She described one occasion where she was in solitary confinement for 21 days.
Oh, Jesus.
I think she was 15.
They're treating these people as if they've killed someone.
I know.
You know, as if they're a murderer.
Like they've shivved someone in the fucking courtyard.
Yeah.
And really they've like kicked a ball into a fucking window. The fuck? She said, that nearly killed me. My spirit, my soul. My wanting to live. I can't even express what 21 days feels like alone in this world. Locked in that room knowing that I didn't have anyone on the outside or inside that cared about me, and that these adults can come and inject me and punish me, leave me a bucket to go to the toilet in, and leave me in this little box away from anyone. They were the longest days and nights alone. A nurse came in at about 15 days when I had been in there, and she snuck me a book. and that probably was the only thing that kept me from breaking completely.
Mm-hmm.
Survivors,
that's kind. A little bit of...
Apparently that nurse didn't last long either because she was kind and didn't like what she saw.
Mm-hmm.
Survivors told us that they were also put into solitary confinement for reasons such as fighting, absconding, smoking, masturbating, and not taking part in activities in the unit.
So being your own person.
Yes, pretty much. Yep. One survivor said he would usually have to be wrestled and dragged to solitary confinement and would be put there for just about anything. Another said putting individuals in solitary confinement gave staff an opportunity to physically abuse them because the rooms were isolated and out of the way.
There's no CCTV. Close the door and you're closed away and you can do whatever you want to them. Hey?
Yep. Exactly.
No, it doesn't seem like anyone's going to be dobbing you in either.
Correct. And that's why
they're all doing it.
And that's why earlier I mentioned that the staff would say it's better to be in a group villa than in solitary confinement. So fucked. Aside from Dr. Leakes, the individual staff members survivors said were the most abusive were Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Blackmore. Survivors reported repeated sexual and physical abuse by both. God. They both used paraldehyde injections as punishment and both helped Dr. Leakes give them ECT. So, Howard Lawrence, he was born in Canada, trained in Australia as a psych nurse and worked at Lake Alice from 1966 until 1993. We don't claim him. He's not one of us. He worked in the unit for nearly a year when it first opened. Lawrence had no training or experience in working with children and young people.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
He was one of the most prolific offenders at the unit. Numerous survivors described sexual assaults and physical violence at his hands.
Honestly, though, training someone for that role isn't going to stop them from sexually abusing someone if they want to.
No,
it just sounds
correct.
like that's the kind of person he was.
Correct.
Yeah, that wouldn't make a difference anyway, would it?
People would put themselves through training to have access to kids. So, including the use of painful paraldehyde injections as punishment. He was also capable of psychological abuse and assisted Dr. Leakes in giving survivors ECT. Survivors describe him as a cruel and sadistic man. Isn't that horrible? One survivor said Lawrence took a group of patients to an area behind the villas where he showed them an open grave and told them people had been killed and buried there. Again, these are kids. He said Lawrence told the group he could put them in that hole and no one would know. He said he had done it before and nobody knew about it. I believe it.
Those kids would believe it too, wouldn't they?
Of course they would. Of course they would.
Yeah.
They would definitely...
They would be so terrified that you've got no choice. Of course you're going to fucking believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awful. And then you're living in fear of being killed and buried.
Imagine the catatonic state these kids would end up in, just not knowing what to do. Yeah. Like, you just wouldn't move or breathe, would you? This survivor also said Lawrence also punched him in the head and he witnessed Lawrence do the same to another boy. Another survivor described how Lawrence and other staff sexually assaulted him. He said that on 6 occasions, Lawrence dragged him to the toilet at night and raped him. Lawrence would also grab him by the neck and slam his head into a wall. Lawrence also told him and others that they would get fired if they did not do as they were told. So he would bully the other staff members into silence.
Yeah, okay.
So the next guy, John Blackmore. Blackmore was employed as a nurse's aide in the unit from its establishment until early 1974. Survivors said he sexually and physically abused them, gave them paraldehyde injections as punishment, had a hand in Dr. Leakes giving them ECT. Blackmore regularly raped and sexually assaulted patients when he took them to his home in Martin on weekends.
What the fuck?
How do you take a fucking patient home?
What the fuck?
Oh my God, how terrifying.
Oh my God. Oh, he's probably, we'll take him out for coffee and social shit.
Yeah, we'll do some fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, rehabilitation.
So disgusting. One survivor said Blackmore would sexually abuse him all weekend and then ignore him through the week. I was so angry with what had happened that about 3 months into this, I started taking my anger out on other boys by physically and sexually abusing them.
How else can you cope with that sort of thing?
Well, how do you process that when you're a child?
Situation, exactly. You've got nowhere to go.
It's not right, but you can see how that happened.
And then in turn, he's just really making the mental health of all these people worse, isn't he?
Yep.
Long term, all these people are going to be so much worse off.
The cycle of abuse
There's absolutely
just keeps
nothing
going.
good here
No.
happening. happening
at all.
Nothing good can come from any of this.
No,
like,
definitely not.
And there's this guy, this doctor is going, "Oh,
It's fine.
I'm so amazing. Look what I'm doing. I'm helping people.
I'm the only one qualified, and yet I'm fucking it up royally." He was sadistic, we find out later. Like, he enjoyed it.
Okay.
And he created this culture where it was okay to prey on kids. Mm-hmm. Other patients recalled Blackmore taking this particular survivor home on weekends all the time.
Oh, God. He had a favourite, did he? What the fuck?
This boy said he complained about the abuse to staff, but he was ignored. However, NZ police were apparently told of the survivor's claims because a 1974 court report noted that a staff member said this boy had made wild allegations of sexual abuse by
none
staff.
of them could possibly be true. No. What the fuck?
Which he said,
wild allegations.
Yeah, which he said were immediately investigated by the local police, who established they were a complete fabrication.
I think that people just love to think that children make everything up.
Question: how, if you're not taught about any of this as a child, would you know about like sodomy and all of that stuff? Like, you wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know.
These kids would be able to describe it in great detail.
Yeah.
Like, use your brains. There is no NZ police records of any investigation, so they just fucking made it up. Mm-hmm. This survivor's allegations eventually resulted in Mr. Blackmore's quiet removal from the unit. Mm-hmm. Other survivors also described being sexually abused by Mr. Blackmore in the hospital and at his home. One survivor told he was unable to see his parents on home leave because he was told he had been misbehaving, so Blackmore instead took him to his house where he was sexually abused. So on visiting day when his parents were coming, he was like, no, you've been misbehaving. I'm going to take you to my house.
Yeah.
How cruel. Oh, it's like just extra cruel. On top of the sexual abuse, it's just like preventing you from seeing your family, preventing him from telling anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. He's planned it all, obviously.
I think we'll leave it there because this is very heavy. In the next one, we're going to talk about more of the sexual abuse that occurred, as well as the ECT that was conducted, which is not your regular therapeutic ECT. It's obviously 1950s ECT, but it also wasn't the ECT of the time either. It was just plain old electric shock torture. That's what it was for children.
In an electric chair type thingy, like actual electric zaps.
They just put electrodes on them,
the body,
and zap the shit out of them, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
without any sedation.
Nope.
No. I see.
They literally tortured them. It was so bad, so horrific.
Like giving someone a shock, like if someone's in cardiac arrest. But imagine if they were awake. That shit's fucking painful.
Which,
people.
If you're in arrest, you're not. Like,
yes,
really.
But these people. What I'm trying to say for, I guess, non-medical people is these people being shocked in that sense, and I think they would be probably being shocked quite viciously by the sounds of it. People that have been shocked out of cardiac arrest and have remembered it can tell you how painful it is. So I can the actual physical feeling of the electricity running through your body is fucking painful.
Yep.
And so these kids are having this whatever the fuck type of ECT thing, completely unsedated.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. That would have been body-wide torturous pain.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, that is torture.
It was. And
it is little torture.
I don't want to give too much away, but they could
all good.
Like the screams were heard all over the unit. Like,
I'm sure they were.
Kids, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's so bad. Anyway.
I feel like all of these asylums and psych hospitals, I'm sure it doesn't matter who it was, screams. It would have been screaming wails, everywhere.
Crying.
Like children, young people, middle-aged, elderly, everyone.
Yeah.
It would have been a house of
horrors.
Terrors,
yeah.
Horrors.
And you can imagine the hauntings. The hauntings, the restless souls. Doesn't say much about the deaths that occurred there, but I'm sure there were kids that killed themselves because of the trauma. For sure. Yeah.
I would have no doubts.
Yeah.
They would have had to have been suicides. Like you cannot have a mental asylum like that or a psych hospital like
without
that.
Just trying to
without any sort of suicides.
I wouldn't blame them at all. No one. Not even the parents who put them fucking in there. Who
21
cares?
days in solitary confinement as a 13-year-old was it?
Yeah, 15, yeah.
15-year-old.
Yeah.
But some of them also had many days.
Yes. As younger kids, they would just shove them in there. They didn't give a fuck.
Imagine putting an 8-year-old in there, one of the youngest. They already have very little sense of time and understanding of that.
Yes, and it's very boring if you've got nothing to do for a kid as well.
Can you imagine how long those 3 days must feel like for a child of that age? They must feel like 3 weeks.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
They would have no concept like an adult. Yeah. An adult will sort of you'd be able to keep track to an extent.
Yeah.
A
There's no frontal lobe development yet.
Nothing.
They can't comprehend any of that shit. And it's such a fucking pivotal moment where you really need love and secure attachment. And when you don't get those things, you just you get so fucked up. You're just creating monsters. You are. It's like,
that's what I said. All this shit that they're doing to these people, thinking, it's going to help them, it's going to cure them. All it is going to do, these fucking group sessions and all that crap, all it is doing is depositing more trauma into their brain.
Yeah, well, that being
said, they're hearing other people's stories and they're going to take that on because they're already traumatized themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that being said,
you'll hear in the next one that a lot of these people go on to live very meaningful and good lives despite their trauma and despite the lack of aftercare.
I think these people also are somehow more driven to do that.
Yeah,
people
some did.
Some people that go through these sorts of things, they want to make it right in a way in the world.
Yeah, you either go one way or the other. Yeah. A lot of these kids ended up in the system and in jail. Yeah, and dead.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, their mental health would have only gotten worse, and I can imagine drug addictions as well would take
And when you don't feel like anyone gives a shit about you, why would you give a shit about the world?
Yeah. You don't even give a shit about yourself at that point. All you care about is, either killing yourself or ending the pain or taking drugs to numb the pain or whatever it is.
Or just doing what you can to feel some semblance of
comfort.
Happiness. Yeah. The fact that we did this. We did this to our own people too. We fucking Australians shoved them into mental institutions and stole Indigenous children and fucking tried to assimilate them into white culture. It's just fucked.
Humans are the cruelest animals on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. We are. Yeah, no, definitely we are. By a long shot. By a long shot.
Minus orcas and weird things like that.
What do orcas do? They kill for fun?
For enjoyment.
Do
they hunt. They hunt for a long time to teach their calves and
well, that's fair. You got to teach a kid to survive.
Exactly. The cruelty of humans is unmatched.
Unmatched by a long shot.
Any other animal in this world could never be as cruel as a human being could be. I guess that's the point I'm trying to get across.
I hear that.
We are our own worst.
We will be our own demise.
Well, we are. Look at all the... There's a war that's just broken out in Nigeria, apparently.
Oh, there's wars everywhere.
I was watching this video. They're all just fucking shooting
guns. This is very depressing.
Laying down bullets on everyone. Yeah.
How do we end this on a happy note? I don't know if
We've got kittens. And I'm about to go home to my 2 kittens, which are older.
And they're not yet
but
dead.
They're kittens still.
Ow. Oh, my God. Anyway, sorry that was so depressing, but it's a story that needs to be told. Needs to be told.
Oh, can I say something?
Yeah.
We've just started the Ed Gein Netflix show.
Ooh.
Yes. I'd actually maybe I might like to do an episode on him. He is a sick, demented fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And you would be very interested.
I know all about Ed Gein.
Oh.
I told you it was him the other day. I said that was him that wore the faces.
Shit. Yeah, you did. You did. We haven't done him yet, have we? No,
because he's not necessarily healthcare related, but I feel like we deviate a fair way out of healthcare.
We do.
Let us know if you want us to talk about Ed Gein, because we fucking will. We will.
There's so much that I could talk about with this man. I mean, his crimes are just...
fucking so gross.
So complicated.
So bad.
Like, there's so much that goes into them. So it would probably be like a 2-parter, honestly. But if anyone would like an Ed Gein
minimum,
episode, then yes.
Let us know. Go and hug your children and tell them that you love them.
Yeah.
Give them all the love and care that they deserve.
If they need help, don't shut them in their room.
Yeah.
And ground them for days on end like my parents used to do, because what does that do? That creates a child that resents their parents and doesn't want to listen even more. Oh, wow.
Shock horror.
Shocking.
We've come so far with child psychiatry. Fucking read a book.
Oh, thank God.
Read a book.
Thank God.
My daughter went to stay with my mum the other day and she's such a fucking boomer. And my daughter likes to play with makeup and she was putting some on.
Yeah.
And my mum goes, why do you wear makeup? You know it's only used for people who want to change themselves.
Oh.
Transform themselves.
Is it?
And I'm like, she's 9. She's
having
just
fun.
playing with makeup. Do we need to put that on her at all?
Yeah.
Like, Ruby's telling me about this. She's like, I said, what did you say? And she goes, okay, weird.
That's such a Ruby thing to say, honestly.
I loved it.
I
was
can
like,
see that.
Great answer.
100%. Yeah, it is.
Just keep applying your blush and just say, that's weird.
Okay, weird. Oh my God, I can totally picture the sass.
You're weird now.
I can hear the sass. I can hear it in Ruby's voice right now.
She gets from me, so.
Of course she does. Where else?
So proud,
no
so
question.
proud. So proud.
No question.
Teach my kids to be very outspoken, and I think they're actually doing it.
Good.
Ruby more so. Hunter's a bit more. He's a bit more shy. But anyway.
He's a boy. I think that's normal until
Do you think? Yeah.
they're... Well, apparently it's normal until he's a bit older.
He'll
bloom a bit later,
louder.
you know? Yeah.
He's coming out of his shell.
Yeah.
He's starting to do some groovy
He just
fucking
came
things.
into the bedroom with us twice before earlier when we were looking at the kittens and just like jump on the bed and started chatting.
Yeah, that's casual.
Like-
he knows you. He's chill with you.
But 3 years ago, of course he was younger, but he wouldn't have done that so much.
Yeah.
You know, he would
He's a bit
sit
of
on
a
the couch
recluse.
with his like iPad
Switch.
and I'd be like, hey Hunter, hi.
Straight back to the game.
Straight back to it.
But if we're fussing over the kittens, he wants to be involved because
Of
he's
course.
obsessed with animals.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's part of the reason why we have so many.
Yeah.
It's animal therapy, y'all. We fucked it up last year when we accidentally... when our kittens had died. But you know what?
Moving on.
That's life. It's
We
life,
die.
isn't it?
We die.
We
Life
live and we
is
die.
death.
We tried.
Life is death.
We learnt.
Death is life.
Anyway, the dogs are outside permanently now, for all who were wondering. And the kittens are
Hopefully you don't get any
very much
backlash over
safe.
that.
I don't care if I do.
Good.
That's why I'm sharing it. I don't care.
She don't care.
I don't care.
Don't even fucking bother.
I'm going to go to bed.
Oh, it's shit. It's 11:21.
Yep, it's past my bedtime.
What is your bed? When do you go to bed?
Listen, I go to bed kind of now and then I lay in bed awake watching shit for like 2 hours. When I put myself to sleep last night, it was 1 o'clock. I went, Jesus.
Yeah, you did message me really late.
Fucking
I
time
was
to go to
very
sleep,
surprised.
bitch. Yeah.
I was surprised.
No, I definitely do late ones, but I definitely want to get into my bed and lay there and not do anything and desensitize. Anyway, we're waffling. Bye, I love you.
Bye, 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 bye.